We're gonna do this from the car. We're gonna be at your house.
Okay. Y'all, hello everyone. Welcome to this month's edition of Keep the Mic On. This week's edition of Keep the Mic On. I am Simply Sherry, one of your hosts. As you know, we are here every week with a conversation with a special guest. My week is called From Behind the Microphone, where we take the time to get to know the poet or the artist behind the art. I'm going to kick it to the poet laureate of Alexandria, Virginia, Kaniki Jakarta.
Thank you very much, cousin. I am Carter, happily serving a 3-year term as the first Black poet laureate of Alexandria, Virginia. Happy to be a part of this 4-part awesome, beautiful, and amazing collective where we strive to keep the mic on. If you would like to help us to keep the mic on, we do have a Cash App. It is Keep the Mic On. So if you would like to give us some donations, we would love that. That would be amazing. My week is called Poets and Platforms, where I interview poets who have platforms for different types of art. So I am going to kick it to, I don't think Charity's here, but Charity's Week, who is another part of the collective, where she interviews poets who use art in therapy. So that is her week. So I'm going to kick it to this week's host. With the mostest. They don't call her the girl genius for nothing. Give it up for Danielle.
Hey.
I'm going to carry Kaniki in my pocket like everywhere. She is like literally the best hype woman there ever was. Hey everybody, I'm Danielle Reed, aka Girl Genius, and I am the 4th member of the collective. And my week is let's talk about the book. So here we are. We're going to be talking to Rashad Wordslave Eldridge. I'm excited to have you here. It's so amazing. Y'all, this is going to be a good show. So we're going to ignore the foosball for a little bit and dig into this. But first, I would like to start with your bio. And your bio is ridiculous. So I'm going to go through your bio real quick, and then I'm going to have you go ahead and open up with a piece. And then, cool. Dig this here interview. All right. Hope, please. Let me find your bio. Got it.
I keep holding on.
That's why you need to be here.
Wait a second. Wait. Let me
forget.
But for those of y'all that have been here with us, or if this is your first time here, I want to let y'all know, like right up front, that Wordslave has a connection to a previous feature. Back in August, we featured Kevin Jackson, and Wordslave appears on Kevin's CD. So I'm just saying that. Our artists are connected.
We got the whole you have to know. All right, so here we go. Wordslave is an international performing artist and author. Word, as he's affectionately known, studied music performance at Towson University with voice as his primary instrument. While an undergrad, he was a member of Kumba Players, the multidisciplinary creative ensemble grounded in theater arts. It was in this collective he met Jamal Blackroot Collier, shortly thereafter forming the hit rock group Axiom. And if you don't know Axiom, start there and then work your way forward with us, which traveled the East Coast as a performance duo. After he graduated, he joined the Kelly Bell Band, with whom he traveled the world singing Fat Blues, which is an amalgamation of funk, go-go, hip-hop, blues, and many other genres of music. See, that's why I told y'all have to start there and then work your way forward. We got this. In 2017, he formed the group Brothers Keeper with Annapolis-based guitarist Cullen. Pronounce his last name for me.
Cullen DeShant.
Thank you very much. I wanted to make sure I was getting that right. In 2018, they released their self-titled debut and are currently recording their follow-up entitled One Life. In addition to his connection to some of DMV's most acclaimed artists, Word has enjoyed success as a solo spoken word artist, singer, MC since 2005 with 8 solo recording projects. And if you're wondering why I have him on the book segment, this man has 3, not 1, not 2, count them, 3 poetry books. In 2014, he released his first collection of poetry, The World According to the Son of Annette and Ron, followed by Whiskey and Blues in 2017. And then on the 1st of this month, as in 2021, he released his 3rd collection, which is called The 28 Mixtape. All 3 of these books are currently available for purchase on Amazon. I've posted them in the Zoom, and one of our other hosts will take care of posting it in the Facebook. So if you're watching us on Facebook and you want to find out where to get the book and how to support our artists, all that information will be there. So He is an all-around creative who enjoys wearing many artistic hats. And he also believes that art is essential to telling the story of our lives. So y'all collectively, everybody in this room, the Facebook room, and everybody joining us, start with giving us a applause for Wordslave. I know it's like the weird virtual thing.
The Zoom, right? Do we do this or do we like? What's the round of applause? I don't know.
Look, I'm a fan of one hand clapping like we're in a haiku death match. Let's go. But yeah, I'll have you kick off with a piece, and then yeah, we'll get into this here interview.
We are everything. We make delicacies from death, take torture and weave beautiful from struggle. We immaculate and chosen. We are champagne and chitlins, rims and religion, diamonds and dirty hands, take shit and till gardens, yield beautiful harvest, crops that feed the masses. We are everything, 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 everything. We are stolen and sacred, property and prosperity, niggas and royalty, supernatural yet tangible. We are blues in the soil, jazz on the tongue, hip hop remixed in society's envy. We are green grass on both sides, the reason for the fence, the cause for peeking over. We are so fly, celestials on earth, ambition for wings, adversity as ambrosia, hoodies and hallelujahs. We are faith and firearms, gangster and gala, black tie and Timbs, college and kingpin. We are what necessity breeds. We are so necessary. We are everything, everything, everything.
I see the applause happening. Crazy.
So weird.
I know this is so weird. I miss it, but I don't miss it sometimes. I miss it because I like being in the room with everybody, you know?
Yeah. But you know, change is what we do. We have to do it because that's the only constant. For real.
Absolutely. But if this is a way to get to see my favorite people on a weekly basis, I'm so here for it.
For sure.
So, all right. So let's start with, first of all, I am super excited that you're here. Like, you have no idea. This is great. I was like, this book has perfect timing. So let's talk about this one in particular. What inspired you to write this book?
So let me say, first of all, let me just go ahead and let y'all know I got my water and I got the blood of Christ. So I will be partaking as we are talking. So
You
just let y'all know.
Listen,
if there's any question, there it is. So so this
you
book,
want to think this is lemonade. Sherry got hers on screen too.
So last year, 2020, in February, before we were on lockdown, every day I decided that I was going to post a piece. And I didn't make no announcements about it or anything like that. I just started posting. It was a personal challenge to myself, but more than anything, it was just a celebration of us as Black people. And I just wanted to do that. And, you know, I was like, well, I got it. It's a collection that's already, like, I don't have to piece it together or anything, like it already is its own thing. So I just decided to go ahead and, put it together, put it out.
Is it, for anybody who's not seen it yet, because it's new, is it one topic? Is it just the things that happen that happen to come out in that month? Is it
not? So like, if FUBU was a book, this is kind of what I imagine it would be like. It really is just a celebration of everything. So it talks about like, that was more general, just in a celebration of us, but there's some more specific topics where I might be talking about a specific individual, but it was all at random, a specific historical individual in most cases, but it literally was at random every day. I don't know what I was going to talk about. I was like, what I want to talk about today. And, as long as it was us, as long as it was celebrating and uplifting us, then as far as I was concerned, it was in bounds.
I'm cracking up because I think that's the best description of a book I've ever heard. Like, if FUBU was a book, this is it. So aside from just this specific project, like, I like to ask people, like, what who or what else inspires you writing wise? Because I know you have other projects and I know you do other writing, and well, you can include the songwriting in this too.
Yeah. So like many of us, it all started, it was I'm a shout out charity. It started as kind of like a therapy thing for me. And when I was really young, I would write when I was in elementary school, but it was more on some roses are red, violets are blue kind of, you know, I don't even like to say Dr. Seuss because Dr. Seuss is dope. Like we like to shit on Dr. Seuss, but Dr. Seuss is dope. But anyway,
Sir.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But as I got older, it became an outlet for me to be able to speak freely without consequence. If ever I was going through something, I was an only child till I was about, my sister and I are 8 years apart. So even when as she got older, we're still so far apart, you know. So if I needed to talk to somebody or if I needed to get something out, I did it on paper. So it started like that. But honestly, I never had any intention of writing a book. It was the furthest thing from my mind. It was literally just something I needed to do. But what happened was in high school, I started to share pieces. And by that time I was a singer and I was a performer. So it just became an extension of that. But my parents would always ask me, "You gonna do a book?" And I was like, "Man, I don't want to do a book," especially since coming up in the scene that we came up in. People was doing CDs, and I was doing music CDs, but people were also doing poetry CDs. So I said, if I was going to do anything, I would do that, but it wasn't on the forefront of my mind. And then in 2000, I want to say 15 or maybe 16, I was hit with like 6 or 7 deaths, like every month, and it wasn't even like, it was by degrees of separation, but I was still feeling that. So what it triggered in my brain was, if something were to happen to me, because let's be honest, you never know. If something would have happened to me, I have all of this material that I've accumulated over the years. I don't know of anybody that's going to be able to put it together. Like nobody's going to put it together the way that I would put it together. So let me just go ahead and do that. And I like process. I do like process. So I fell in love with the process of creating a book, and I never stopped writing. So that one happened, and then the second one happened, and it just kept snowballing.
First of all, that's dope. Second of all, I think you're also one of the few people that actually said they like process. Like some people some of the authors that have been on here, it's not like they recognize that process is just a necessary thing.
Right.
Not everybody likes it.
Yeah.
I ask about it because, you get for people who are like, the serious writers and things like that, or even if you're just doing it because it's an outlet, you don't realize there's a lot to it. It's not like, okay, let me just, I'll sit down and write something and I've got it on paper and that's great. But there's other things that go along with that.
Oh, don't get it twisted. It definitely gets frustrating for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But a mentor of mine told me, he said, you got to appreciate the journey. Like it's not really just the destination. You got to appreciate every aspect of it. And this was more of in a musical context when we were having that conversation. But when we got to go to gigs, people think you just show up on stage and just like, I don't know if they just think you just teleport there, just boom, you on stage and it's time to go, right? Like, but no, that starts from weekly practices. It starts from songwriting sessions. Like what you hear in a 3 or 4 minute song is hours and hours and hours of practice. What you hear or what you read in a book, one piece, that's hours of revision. Like most of writing, people don't realize is revision. Yeah.
Editing and bouncing it off of people and reading for sound, especially
right.
It's even different, like taking it off a book page. If you're going to do it on stage, it's reading for sound.
Mm-hmm.
What looks good on a page doesn't necessarily translate well out loud.
Right. But because I enjoy sound and I enjoy words and I enjoy the way words sound, to me, it's like some people like to put together puzzles. For me, it's the same way when I'm writing a song or if I'm writing a piece. Okay, so if this word and that word goes together, how does it sound versus this word and that word? And if I do that, then so that's enjoyable to me. Now there's certain parts during the latter part of the process it get a little daunting at times. So like formatting a book, it's a pain in the ass. Like, or at least for me, because I haven't mastered it yet. But I can't stand that part.
Listen, I did it for a living for a good period of time, and I still hate it.
Yeah.
It's a necessary evil, but it's there.
Right.
And you know what you just reminded me of? There's a question that I know for sure is going to come up in Q&A.
Okay.
It comes from one of the other hosts, and I cannot wait to pick your brain on that. But that's back end stuff. We gonna get there. I know what this is. It's one of Sherry's questions that I know is going to come up. But since we're kind of here on process, I mean, let's talk about process. I mean, I know what the next question I always ask is like how long it took you to write the book. But I know how we just discussed how long it took to do this one, but the other ones are these long-term collections because sometimes it's just, hey, I'm sitting down, I've decided I'm going to do this thing, I have a collection, yay, it took me a month. And other times it's I think who was it that was on here, The Truth was like, this is years worth, like decades worth of stuff to make this book. Like I started writing when I was 10 and the book didn't come out till I was like in my 20s. Right.
So each of them was different. The process was a little bit different for each of them. So obviously, like I said, the last one, that wasn't even 30 days. It was, so last year was a leap year. So it was actually 29 days.
Yeah.
So I wrote it I wrote the pieces in their initial phases. I'll put it that way in 29 days. But like I said, after that, then comes the revising and all of that. Right. So, but if we're just talking about just the writing part, that happened in 29 days. The second one, to be honest with you, I feel like I was just writing. So that period of time was actually, let me go to the first one and then it'll make sense in the context of that. So the first one, because I had no intentions of ever writing a book, but I was always writing, that book spans the most time in terms of material. So like years and years, like, so if it came out in 2014, the first one, I probably had pieces from, I don't know, 2010 or something like that. It's just ballpark, but, and then some that happened like right as I was still writing. So I got to a point where I had to cap it, but let's just use 2010 as, so we're talking 4 years, right? But I had to, cap it at some point. So the second one, in that time frame from the first one and the second one, I'm still writing and they're coming together. But what was different with that one, I think I figured out the theme a little bit quicker. So then once I had that theme, the pieces started to flow a little bit quicker because I was now writing, and in many ways inadvertently at times, but I started writing in that vein and writing for that book specifically. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. But
it does. and I'm gonna tell you 2 little secrets. One, you'll be surprised to know my first project ever was also a CD, not a book.
Yeah.
Wanted to write a book. I did not. Time. The first book I did was not a poetry book. It was creative nonfiction, and I wrote it when we got snowed in the house during that Snowmageddon, whichever one it was.
Yeah.
Like in 2008, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, well, we got hit by like 50 inches of snow, like back in the house for 3 weeks. That 3 weeks in the house was, here's a book.
Yeah, I remember that time.
I was like, I got nothing else to do but sit in the house and write a book. So that's what I did. Like I had something that had been sitting there, and yeah, it's crazy. You get motivated and sometimes, and then there are times like, the double blizzard. And then there's sometimes like now where we're kind of like, oh, we're sitting in the house and you're like, I don't want to. Like, if it comes, it comes, and I'm not going to force myself to do so.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you a question. So are all of your books self-published? Or
yes.
Okay.
Yes,
see, that's the difference, because when you self-publish, those deadlines are soft.
Yeah, deadlines are soft. I mean, I write for a living. So I worked in publishing for a while. Now I just do other stuff, but I still work for a living. but I worked in publishing for a while. So I've always been really good about setting deadlines for myself. Like, okay, by the time this month ends, I know what the process looks like. I'm lucky in that sense. I have been there, done that, so I know what the timeline should look like.
Right. And then when you did, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I was gonna say, and then when I can set a deadline and be like, hey, I'm done.
Right. And then you got to consider when you're dealing with other folks, because you got to get other people to proofread and edit and all those sorts of things. I mean, you could not do that. I wouldn't recommend it for any writers.
No.
No.
Proofreading is important.
Yeah, but you know how that is, and getting somebody else to work within the time frame of your deadline. Sometimes it's like, I need this in, however many days, and I try to make sure that it's reasonable. But everybody got their own lives, especially if you're going to other artists as well. People who have their own creative, but those be the ones that you want, because a lot of times those are the people whose opinions you respect the most, and you want their perspective on things, whatever, but they working on their own stuff. So it's like, I needed that last week. Like,
well, who did you get? Who do you trust? Who did you trust to do this one? Who did you trust to sit back and read and proofread and help you edit this book? I don't ask anyone that.
So when I did the first one, I quickly realized that I ain't have money to pay for professional editing, right? But I wanted people who, I won't say that it wasn't professional, but I'll say that people who did it and that's not their profession, if that makes sense. So actually a good friend of mine, Bisharice Moore, she has been helpful with each one of these for me. And then what I do is I get beta readers. And I get people from different walks of life. So I got to consider who, the demographic, how many women, how many men, what's their profession? Okay. A couple of English teachers that I worked with, I sent this to them. A couple just friends of, like, my brother did one of them. He's not a writer, but I trust his eye. I trust his objectivity, right? Honolyn was another person. Y'all know she helped me with, I think it was the Whiskey and Blues one, if I'm not mistaken. One of those, I can't remember which one. I got them. I always make sure I list them too, because I also want to thank them. But I try to make sure I get people from different walks of life. And while they may not be poets or they may not be self-proclaimed writers, I know that they read. I know that they're, are going to be objective in what they're taking in, and then they can give me that positive feedback. And at the end of the day, bottom line is you can take that or you can leave it, whatever it is. It's ultimately up to you what you decide to use.
I'm a fan of beta readers, and both within and outside of the genre. Like, I'll get non-poets, people who wouldn't touch poetry books. Like, I need you to do this. Like, just read through, and I'm not telling you what to look for. Just what do you find? What is there anything in here that's problematic or that you wouldn't put in published page? But
I found that can be tough too, because if you don't tell them, like, hey, I want you to look at this and tell me some people need that direction. So like, like when you got kids in the class, well, I want you to write about anything. They're not going to write anything because they need that direction.
No. I give them I need you to read this with a critical eye. What do you like? Like, I usually ask them, what do you like? What do you not like? Yeah. Is there anything that you wouldn't put forward?
Right.
Anything specifically that triggers you or is problematic? We do that exercise. Like, no, I give them guides. I don't get really into the weeds as far as going, I need you to find this.
Right. So here's a trick I learned. There's a book I read. It's called the Independent Artist Guide. It's a book I got. Oh God, this was probably 2006 or 7. But anyway, in talking about being an independent artist, it helps you navigate that, not only from the stage performance aspect and the publishing and so things like that, but like, how do you get the feedback that you're looking for? How do you get the help and the assistance that you're looking for? So one of the tricks that they told us, if you can't afford editors, I don't know what the term they used in that because it was talking about music, but if you can't afford editors, right? I did beta readers. So what I did was, because I couldn't afford to pay them individually, I said, this is what we're going to do. Y'all help me out with this. On this date, we're going to all come together. So I printed it out for everybody, sent it to them so they can mark it and make notes or whatever. And then we had a particular date. We was talking about cooking earlier. I cooked. I brought them to the crib. We had brunch, and we talked about it. So that was my, hey, thank you. And of course, afterwards, you give them a book and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was a good trick. I learned I can't afford you. And even if you don't have a price, I can't afford you what I should probably have to pay you for doing something like this. But this is what I can do. And most people are receptive to that. So especially if they like you and they want to see you succeed. So
that's neat.
Yeah.
I only ever did that for writing sessions. I didn't even think to do that for beta readers, you know?
Hell yeah. Most people appreciate if you feed them.
True. Like I said, definitely for writing sessions. Like, okay, you're coming, you're helping me, I'm helping you, cool, and I'll cook. Let's go.
There you go. And if you can't cook, I don't know who's listening, who's watching. If you can't cook, then order.
Order. Grubhub is your friend.
You know what I mean?
DoorDash is your friend. You know? Like, if you can't cook, don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. Don't do it. Because, yeah,
they'll never read your stuff again.
I'll be like, I loved your book, hated your food.
Right.
That makes me feel some sort of way. Woohoo. Can't boil water, don't want to read your book. No. Yeah. I was gonna say, since we're still in this vein, what I'm gonna skip one and come back to it.
Okay.
What is your, aside from just that part of it, like what is the actual biggest challenge for you in writing and publishing?
I'll tell you what my challenges are. I don't know what's the biggest per se, but procrastination is one. The other is perfectionism. And perfectionism. And then at the end, like I said, the more technical aspect is the formatting part. I can't stand when it gets to that point. And by that point, you're at the end, but that has given me difficulty, especially with this last one, because on the other ones I was using, I was on a PC, and this one I'm using Mac, so I'm using Google Suites versus Word, and they don't operate with Google Suites. So I called for tech support, and they was like, "Yeah, so you need to do this," and he was trying to tell me from the Word perspective, and I was like, "Oh, I'm using Google." He's like, "Oh," and he was like, "Yeah, you got to figure that out," basically. He couldn't help me with it at that point. I was like, "Oh my goodness." So that becomes a challenge too. But to be more specific about the perfectionism part, I think as artists, most of the time as artists, we want things to be perfect before, not even just as artists, honestly, in life, people are waiting for the right moment to do everything. They're waiting for everything to be lined up. And it's like, yo, that doesn't exist. Perfect doesn't exist. So at some point, you're going to have to say, listen, for better or for worse, this is what this is going to be, period. This is what it's going to be. And sometimes the imperfections are, you know, they become little things that draw people to it. They're like, oh, that was kind of cool. And you didn't even mean to do it. Like, it was a mistake, but sometimes those be little gems. But at some point you got to like, just let it go and be like, listen, this is what it's going to be for better or for worse. So I struggle with that one because I'd be nitpicking and stuff. I've gotten a lot better at it. But that's a big one.
I'm gonna tell you, I feel you so much on this. And I'm in the double whammy category in that, because this is my actual job, I'm probably 10 times harder on myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm 10 times harder on myself because it's my actual job. Right. And I'm like, I try so hard to get it perfect. And then I have to realize it's not going to be that way. I've had to learn to let go of a lot of that.
You know what it is? It's vulnerability. And people, we want it to be perfect because we don't want somebody to be able to pick apart our faults and our flaws, right? So if it's perfect, then they can't do that. They can't nitpick at it. But at the end of the day, perfection does not exist. So
doesn't exist. Oh,
everybody
no, it was years. It was years of. Now that I've had it, I've gotten past that. But I'm just saying it was years of that.
Yeah.
Being able to just go, okay, I trust someone enough to tell me there's things wrong. Let's fix these things and not worry about if it is, and it's not going to be 100, 1,000% perfect. It's just not. It doesn't work. That's fine.
Yeah.
Did I get my point across? Yes. Do I have a good product? Yes. Is something I'm proud to put out in the universe? Yes. Cool.
Yep.
So do you, and this should be an interesting question, especially for you.
Uh-oh.
No. I like to ask, like, since we're, let's not worry about the hard parts, like the fun part of the process, the fun part of okay, I'm going to sit down and do. What does that look like in terms of, like, I like to ask people if they have specific things they like to do, or specific, like, do you need background music? Do you only write first thing in the morning? Like, I like asking people that question because, the thing that I need to come across to people is there's not one way to do this, like, ever.
Yeah.
I am not a sit down first thing in the morning and spend 3 hours writing kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
There's no absolute for me. I've done many, I've used many different methods, but I am literally always jotting down ideas. I'm always jotting down something. So either this thing right here is everything, because whether it's a song or whatever, if I'm driving, I'm hitting the voice memos joint and I'm boom, 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 right? Or I'm sometimes when I'm driving, I shouldn't do that either, but I'll go to notes. I'll go to my notes and I'll just jot down, and it could be the dumbest thing ever. And that's another thing. Like, a lot of times we don't want to jot something down, or we don't, because we want it to be like, it's not going to be fire the first thing you put down. It's not going to be, right? So
those are the best things ever. The ones that you don't think that don't think that it'll be, you're like, hey, that's weird. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, just trust me on the concept. I got you. And that, yeah.
And I've had to stop telling myself to lie. Oh, I'll remember. If it's good enough, then I'll remember. It'll come back to me, because that has come back to bite me so many times. Now, sometimes it has worked when I haven't written it down, but something's just nagging at me, right? And I'm like, yo, I got to do something with this. And sometimes it's like, nah, I'll be all right. I'm in bed or whatever. And I'm like, I don't feel like whatever. And then I'm like, shit, what was it? I've gotten lucky. Sometimes I come up with something better, but sometimes it's like, it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah. No, listen, my phone stays attached to my hand. I think I have a third hand, because I cannot, because I know me, I squirrel, that's me. Yeah. And notebooks and things are all, like, I keep notebooks and pens in random places in my house for just that reason.
Yeah. I got a coffee can, right? And I cut a hole in the top, and just random ass ideas. I'll jot stuff down and boom. I don't know what it's going to go to, but I started this actually because a friend of mine who I was trying to help out with songwriting, and I was telling her the same thing, like, yo, just write it down. It doesn't matter how dumb you think it is, whatever. Jot it down, boom, put it in there later. So you come back to it, that joint might trigger a whole different thought, and then you get into your train of thoughts. Now you got another piece. You might have 2 pieces of paper, like, oh, you know what? Boom, that go together, and then that'll start a process or whatever. But just get it down. If
stealing
you have
that,
it,
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm stealing that. I'm
totally. Oh
yeah. That's a really, really good idea. I'm so stealing that. I love you. I'm stealing it. Because I used to keep. I actually not used to. I actually still have it. Whenever I write poems, specifically poems. But sometimes with the other fiction stuff too, I'll have a line that's really good that I just don't, for whatever reason, end up having to cut it. Yeah. But it's good and it's worth salvaging. So I'll throw it in one big dump file. Mm-hmm. So I've got like pages upon pages of one-liners that I never used. Right. I'll come back to them at some other point and go, okay, this is a standalone. I can do something with this. And I'll use 1 or 2, but I have tons of those. And I might look at it and be like, I don't even know what I was thinking, but here it is. Mm-hmm. I might cut those up and put them in a nice little jar and just pull random lines out. Just
Yeah, it's just fun sometimes to look like, oh, you ever write something like, oh shit, I said that? Like,
yeah,
oh damn, I was all right. I was all right.
that was all right. I can't tell you the last time I wrote a song. It's been a minute.
Yo, listen, so I've been promoting this as a book of poetry, right? And even the one prior to this, Whiskey and Blues. I don't like to say what it is because I just write. Like, I don't care about the designation of it. So I let other people do that. But just because people seem to need that, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's poems, but there's so much involved rhythmically, and particularly with Whiskey and Blues as well. There are a lot of songs in it. I just write, I call them pieces because that's what they are. You can decide what they are, whatever, cool. Did you enjoy it? Did it evoke something in you? Did you like, so I don't, whatever, poetry, songs. If I feel like it needs to be in whatever collection it's going to be in, that's what you're going to get.
On varying levels, songs are the same thing.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing.
Have you ever actually taken a poem and made it into a song?
Yes.
I've tried, and that is the most difficult thing for me. That's difficult. And fortunately, because I write songs, it's not something that I need to worry about, but I've tried to challenge myself to do it, and I've had great difficulty doing that. Because
it's hard.
Yeah, because if you got a particular rhythm in your head that the poem is already flowing in, you got to undo that and then put it in the proper context for it to be a song. So that's tricky.
Okay, so look, I'm just dropping all the secrets today, right? So not too many people know this. So back like, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe, what is this, 2020? Yeah, so like that, maybe 10, 12 years ago, somewhere in there. I got pulled into a rap group, right? I can't sing. My version of singing sounds like, I don't know, cats being drowned and strangled simultaneously. I don't sing. I couldn't carry a note if I had a bucket and some water, okay? It just doesn't work. And my kid is the opposite thereof. The girl has perfect pitch, plays piano, all kinds of instruments. She's like Prince Jr. I'm over here. Like, I don't know where she got it from. It wasn't me. Point being, I got pulled into this rap group, and I got pulled into this rap group as a poet, right? And the two other people in the group figured out that because I could write poems, they figured I could write rap songs. And so I'm like, y'all don't understand. Like, this is not the same thing. Work like that. Sure enough, by the time we got done, I had written like a whole bunch of songs where I'm like, it's basically, I just took poems and re-rhymed them and tied them out to the beat, and I can actually do this.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I find this hilariously funny because I found one of the songs, like, I want to say maybe 2 weeks ago, something like that. And I'm like, I actually wrote that? Like, what was I smoking that day? Like, this was kind of, but what was I on?
So in that context, you just made me out to be a liar, because when I'm thinking songs, I'm thinking more melody, right? But you're absolutely right. If it's a rap, it's still a song. So you're absolutely right. And you just told the story of actually how I started rapping. So I was recording with a friend of mine from high school, and neither one of us knew what the hell we was doing at the time. Like those first 3 projects that I gave you on the bio, yeah, nobody hears those. That was just like the breeding ground, but nobody hears those. That was just, nah. But the process, again, we go back to the process, in recording those helped so much. So what happened was, I was writing these songs, and some of the songs, he made hip hop beats, like no question about it. He didn't make songs for singers. But okay, cool. While I wasn't a rapper, I grew up on hip hop. It's very much within me and a part of, my upbringing. So I'm singing over this, but a lot of them required raps. Like, nah, this needs a rap on it. But what would happen was, I would hit people up, and we get back to relying on somebody else to work within your time constraints, right? And it doesn't happen. So I figured, I was like, you know what? I am a poet, and I have rhythm, so I can probably figure this rhyming thing out.
That was me.
And that's how that started. That's literally how that started. Like, nah, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm tired of waiting on people, so I'll do it myself. Thanks. So it worked out, I think.
That's literally it. Like, I am if you hear it now, like, it doesn't even sound like me. Like, no one realizes it's me, and I'm happy to let them just try to guess in the universe who that might be. Just leave that over there. But yeah, it's the same thing. Like, if you'd have asked me about that then, I'd have been like, I can't
I'm a rapper.
do this, because even if somebody else was doing it, the process of trying to translate that in either direction is weird.
Yeah.
It works.
Yo, funny story. So when I went to Florida A&M first, and I transferred from Florida A&M and went to Towson. So when I went to Towson, I switched my major was still music, but the concentration was called commercial music and jazz studies. So we were doing like top 40 joints, and let me say top 40, that sounds old, but you know what I mean? Like popular radio shit, right? And my instructor in one of my band courses, we were like a gigging band. Like, one of my first gigs was for a class, which is kind of cool when you think about it. Like, he was teaching us not only how to perform and how to be a band, but how to be a professional musician, because he took us out to these clubs, right? So we were doing a mashup of, we did Patrice Rushen's Forget Me Nots, right?
Ooh.
But what did he want to go into from there? He wanted to go into Men in Black, the Will Smith joint, right?
Of course.
So I'm the only black guy in the band. At the time, I had this big old fro. I might have had a braid or whatever. So it just looked like I could rap, right? He just assumed that I could rap. And yeah, he's a black teacher. so before we go there, he's a black teacher. So I'm like, yo, his name is Gary. I said, Gary, I don't rap. I don't rap. He was like, oh, you'd be fine. What? Like, what do you mean? First of all, nobody wants to rap Men in Black. Like, nobody wants, like, that's Will's lane. Nobody
let him stay
to do that, right? You couldn't give me a better rap, but he wanted to transition because obviously that's where the sample came from, right? All right, cool, whatever. So I was so embarrassed because, of course, I'm inviting people, my friends, to come out and see the gig, right? But I was so embarrassed. But I gave him a heads up. I was like, listen, I gotta do this rap joint. Because I was embarrassed, one, because I already didn't rap. So I didn't think I was gonna be able to pull it off. Two, I was embarrassed because of the damn song that it was. I mean, I did it, you know, and it came off, I guess, as well as it could come off. But oh my God, I was so embarrassed. I'm like, come on, Gary. Like, what are you doing, man?
Oh my God. You also made me think of something hilariously funny somewhere in that same missive of stories of things that I just told you I can't sing. I one time had to sing in the middle of, I was at a museum in the middle of Southeast DC, and I was performing with a band. I was doing poems, and the singer who was there forgot the words of the song, and I'm picking up the song and I'm trying to sing the song. Ask me what we're singing. This is the kicker. I am singing Queen, not Bohemian Rhapsody, because good Lord, no. I am singing, if I'm not mistaken, We Will Rock You in the middle of Southeast DC, sitting in front of a museum on a microphone at the top of my lungs because I cannot sing because she forgot the words.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah. Random girl who knows all words to Queen songs. Let's go.
Listen, when I tell you Jamal used to save me all the time because I had a tendency to forget words. And early on, before I knew how to be a professional, you know, I'm thinking I'm there to have fun and I'm there to party. So, you know, I have my drink or whatever, and I'm forgetting words, right? So one time we're at the Five Seasons, and I used to like get mad. So particularly if we don't have music behind us, so we might be rhyming, but it's in the context of the spoken word format, right? So we can go at our own flow. So I would stop in the middle of the song and I would be so mad with myself on stage. So one time I forgot the words, and you know how I go. They're like, you got it, you know, the whole encouragement thing, whatever. And I was just like, fuck, like on stage, like just blurted it out. And Jamal just looked at me So afterwards, he said, "Hey, dog, you got to stop doing that." He said, "I can cover for you, but when you do that, there's nothing I can do about that. I can't cover for you." And there was one time we was on stage with Kelly Bell Band, and I was doing this rhyme that I did on a Mind State mix. Shout out to Root and Jay Pope. So, but one of the rhymes I did on there, I put it in the middle of like some things we was doing on stage. And there's a line, the line says, "I stay busting out the frame till box springs get stained," right? So, but I couldn't remember the next line. So I was like, "I stay busting out the frame till box springs get stained." And I forgot the line. I was like, "Oh shit." And I looked at Jamal and he couldn't remember the line. I could always rely on him, but he couldn't remember. And he looked at me like, "Hey dog, you on your own." So I was like, "I stay busting out the frame till box springs get stained. I stay busting out the frame." And I just repeated it. And I think I freestyled the rest of it and got out real quick or whatever. But oh my God. So yeah, forgetting the lines on stage has, that was the thing. That was the thing. I've gotten a lot better, but oh my goodness. It's, but yo, you got to take your lumps. You know what I mean? There's nobody who's a performer that's, whether you're singing, whether you're an MC, whether you are an actor, whatever, you're going to have your moments. And it's not if you have a moment, it's how you recover. And that's what I had to figure out. I had to figure out how to recover when I was having those moments. So, because it's going to happen.
I feel like this next question, it's funny because I feel like this next question is perfect piggybacking off of this. So I was looking and I was like, hey, yo, so I always have this question about whether or not, do you have tips or tricks for writers? And I'm like, that's one right there. Like, recovery.
Yeah.
It's not even about performance. It's here you are, you're in the writing world. Yeah, take your lumps and recover.
Yeah.
What else you got?
We're talking specifically.
Tips and tricks. Writing. You could be writing. It could be life at this point. We're just kind of here right now.
So the good thing in the writing process is that you're not exposed until you decide to share it with somebody. So in the performance context, once you're on stage, once you're in front of a crowd, you're out there. So the recovery is a little bit different. But in the writing process, this is one thing that I had to get comfortable with, particularly in songwriting. I would write a song and I got it in my head, and I don't play any instruments well. I can plunk out piano well enough to communicate what I need to somebody who can do it, and we can get what we need, right?
Right.
But there was a time where I didn't have that tool, and I would hear it in my head and I wanted it to be a certain way, but I couldn't always effectively communicate that. And so I would just hold on to stuff, because if it wasn't perfect, if it wasn't exactly how I wanted it to be, then I don't want to do it, right? So I'll tell you two ways that I overcame that. One, and shout out to my sister, Love the Poet. She told me one day, she said, listen, if you got a song, or if you have something and you're holding it in your fist like this, because it's sacred to you or whatever you want to call it, like nobody can penetrate that. You can't get to it, but you're also not allowing anybody else to receive that, and you're not getting anything from it either. So it's literally just staying there. So I had to become comfortable with allowing other people to hear my stuff and be vulnerable enough to allow them to critique it. And, but at the end of the day, you want to serve whatever the craft is. So we say serve the song. We say that often. But if it's a poem or if it's a novel, whatever it is, if your ultimate goal is to make the best piece of art that you can, then you got to remove your ego from it and allow it to be that. And you need other people to do that. So when I was working with Kelly Bell Band, I would bring in songs sometimes, and there's 7 of us in the band. So this one song in particular, I remember I wrote it, and the only thing I had the melody, like I wrote out the whole song with her, and I had the drum beat. So I played the drums to it, and I sang it, and I brought it in. So somebody else came up with the chords and all that kind of stuff. And so he's working on this song for months. And to the point, I just got like frustrated. And I was like, man, we're gonna finish the joint. Like we keep changing stuff, right? At the time, I didn't love Process so much, right? And I'm thinking we done. One day we done. I'm like, cool, this is it. Like, yes, we got it. And then our sax player at the time, he was like, hey guys, I got this idea. And I'm like, fuck, no, like no more ideas, like let it be done. And that song ended up being like, I think that song is like 7 or 8 minutes long. There's a whole other section to that song. It's like a jam section. And I fucking love it. I love it. Right. And I just had to become comfortable with allowing other people to hear it, to look at it. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you want to make the best piece of work that you can. So.
Absolutely. I was gonna say one of the things that I think I've learned over the years, critique is awesome. You know, input's good. You can at a certain level learn to discern what works and what doesn't. If it's yours, if sharing this with something else, it's like you have the shared experience. You know, it's one thing when you perform and you get immediate critique and feedback. Mm-hmm. It's another thing when you write and you can't get the feedback until someone else has actually seen it. And sometimes you may not get the feedback for a while because it's however long it takes them to process, read it, and do whatever. So you got to kind of learn to temper, you know, a lot.
Let me say this, and I don't know who on here needs to hear this or who may see this later may need to hear it, but listen, if you are giving somebody feedback, don't bullshit them. Like, I hate when people want to be nice. Like, there have been times where I've come off stage and people will be like, oh, that was dope. And in my mind, I'm like, no, that was shit. And I know that it was, but they want to be nice. And I don't need that. Like, you can't get better if somebody is just being nice to you. Like, that don't mean you got to be brutal, but be honest about what it was. So offer them like, no, I wasn't really feeling that, because give them the because. If you didn't like something, give them the because. If you feel like they can do better at something, give them the how they can do better, or how, you know, and it's all perspective. At the end of the day, they're gonna take it or leave it. But don't coddle people, because that's how you produce shitty artists. That's how you produce shitty artists.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say two things on that. One of the things that I so appreciated when I was in grad school, one of the things they used to do is they would have, you had to take a critique class. Well, no, it wasn't specifically a critique class, but you had to take a class where this sounds brutal, but I'm telling you, like, I appreciate this so much, it's not even funny. So you bring your work in, you give one copy to everybody in the room. Mm-hmm. You read it out loud and nobody says anything. Like, they have to sit and listen, but they're reading along with you, right? Mm-hmm. On the page. And then once you're done, you turn your paper over and everybody in the room gets 15 minutes. And what they do is they write down 3 things they like, 3 things they don't like, the questions they have, they don't understand. And they get 15 minutes to shred you. Mm-hmm. And you can't answer. The whole point of this exercise is not your ability to take the critique, but to see if what I'm trying to get across is the thing everybody in this room picked up.
Right.
And I like the idea that that people can be really honest and not, you know, and not in a mean way. It's, here's things I don't understand. Like, I legitimately have questions, or maybe this wasn't good, or maybe you need to fix this, or right, here's this thing. And you walk away with actual valuable feedback.
Right. Yeah. Honest and mean are not synonymous.
No, they are not.
They are not synonymous. And people got to realize that if somebody's giving you honest critique, like if I'm giving you honest critique, like it's not on me how you receive that. I know my intention. I know whether or not I'm being mean, and you know that if you're, but just because somebody tells you the truth, it don't mean that they're being mean. So if you want to be the best artist that you can be, or person, because this applies in life too. You know what I mean? Like, you want that honest feedback, because that's the only way you're going to grow, is if you get that. So if you want to be the best that you can possibly be, then you got to learn how to deal with that. You got to learn how to take that.
Yeah. And you're right. Honest and synonymous. Honest and mean are not synonymous. I totally enjoy, like when we used to do, what is it, PJJ with myself and Sherry and analysis, like we would give our artists feedback at the end of the show.
Yeah.
And not mean feedback, like, hey, you didn't win, but this was really good. And here's where you could do some things. So when you come back next month, you can snatch everybody's lunch money.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And look, analysis is giving me the thumbs up. That's like there's always room to take a little bit of that and not, like I said, and not take it in.
Right.
Let that sit for a minute. Make yourself a better artist.
Yo, so I took some poetry classes in college, and I sound like I took some poetry classes in college, and but no, that feedback, that critiquing session that you're talking about. So I'm saying that you shouldn't, be mean necessarily. To be honest, I didn't always follow my own advice, man. I didn't either. And here's the thing, I didn't mean to be mean to the people that I ended up shitting on, but I was so fed up. Again, I wasn't prepared for process at that point. I was so fed up with sitting in this class week after week and people just, well, I didn't like this because, and I did, like, not understanding at the time, if you want to get better, that's what you need. But honestly, if you got 15 people in a class and you're doing it, it becomes a bit much, right? And so I was just fed up. And so I brought in a piece and I referenced some other people's work, but people were being very vulnerable and honest in their work. And the things that I decided to point out, like it was shitty of me. Like I didn't realize it until it got pointed out, because that critique, you get it back. So everybody has your work and they'll write on your, so I would get it back. And I was like, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't have referenced Shorty's bulimia. I was like, I probably should have did that. That was fucked up. Like, but I didn't, I wasn't thinking about it. And I wasn't doing it to be mean to her. I was doing it because I was so fed up with the class, man. But, I didn't need to make them casualties as a result of my frustration,
Yeah, and now Analysis pointed out something that I'll bring up in a little bit.
Okay.
There's a comment in here about, he says, I feel that much of the country is coddling Amanda Gorman too much, re not putting her appearance in proper socio-political context. If she ever listens to the piece I wrote about it, I hope she knows I wrote it in love. Well, that's a whole nother issue, because she's got the thing that people tend to forget in context is that, first of all, she's 22. Mm-hmm. Second of all, not only is she 22, but she also has, if I'm not mistaken, she has some learning disabilities or some audio and some audio impairments that affect the way that she delivers and writes.
Okay. And
so, everyone wants to sort of critique her. And I'm like, can we not just, sometimes you got to critique, and sometimes you just got to celebrate the win for us, Mm-hmm. That's me.
Yeah. Okay.
That was a whole off-topic thing, but that's totally me. Sometimes you can critique when it's necessary, you know what I'm saying? And I'm a firm believer in, if you ask me for a critique, you're gonna get one.
Right. I always ask permission. Like, I ask permission. I always ask permission. So if I have something to say, particularly if somebody's talking to me about something, I'm like, hey, so are you just venting, or do you want me to say something, or if it's creatively, we're speaking creatively, may I offer something? I always ask permission first. And if not, I shut the hell up. You're gonna be the artist you want to be. Right. So, all right, cool, whatever.
Right. I ask first if, like, hey, may I offer some feedback? So, and it doesn't have to be constructive criticism. It could be like, I really like this. I think you could do this, and it's positive stuff, like wholly positive. Like, that would be 10 times better. Not even 10 times better, but like that would increase tenfold if you did this.
Right. Not just, yo, you suck. Like, you don't want to do that. Like,
it's not even, no. Sometimes it's already really good. And like, you might it might be a 9.9. If you want to be a 10, do this one thing.
Right.
Sometimes. You know, sometimes if people ask for critique and you know, yeah, I'm here for it. If I want to offer, I ask first. I'm never the person to just flat out just say, at least not to you. Well, yeah, actually I am. I'll take that back. Let me not tell that lie. I was gonna say I wouldn't really tell somebody to face they suck. Yeah, I would. Maybe not quite like that, but yeah, I would. But here's why. You know,
Right.
Maybe that wasn't the best choice because
We got this thing that we do in the on the road. Like if there are other artists that are on stage before you, like you want to be careful about shitting on people that come on before you because you ain't gone on stage yet. So you don't want that karma to come back. I don't believe in karma in the, oh my God, it's gonna, like, I don't believe in it that way. However, you haven't gone yet, so just shut the hell up until this time. No, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's I've had some terrible experiences, like, oh my God, they're terrible and they're blowing my high right now. They're killing my vibe. But when they come off stage and you're crossing, so a lot of times we will be loading on stage as they're loading off because like changeover times are so short or whatever. And we'll be like, hey man, all right, man, I hear you. Hey man, you did your thing, man. You was doing your thing. I'm telling the secret though. If somebody say, hey man, you did your thing, that don't mean they necessarily liked you.
True. Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
I hear you. All right.
Yep. And there's sometimes when it's like, you know, I know what I'm gonna do, but I don't know if I can follow that.
Yeah.
Or one of the things I hate being stuck in this position when someone comes to you and they go, how do you think I did? And you know in the back of your head, oh my God, like I just want to pour bleach in my ears.
Oh damn. Yeah, don't say that.
Like I hesitate to respond to that because I want to offer something that's, you know, helpful. Mm-hmm. But I also know that I have no filter.
Yeah.
Filters are for coffee. I have none. I have absolutely none. So I have to like sort of just figure out how to appropriately answer that.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Yeah, your piece made me want to walk into traffic, actually.
Oh my gosh. You know, the audience liked it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, here's another. How do you think you did?
I'm not even gonna lie.
He throw it back to him. How do you think you did?
Sherry walks away whistling. Yeah, we've more than one occasion you're like, yeah, so I just, you know, maybe I didn't hear it in its proper context. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. That's a good one for me. Maybe I just was not hearing it in the proper context. I'm sorry. I'm kind of in my own world right now. Some, you know, I'm one after you. I'm just kind of not here.
Yeah, I had somebody give me feedback on my second book, Whiskey and Blues, and I'm still puzzled by, not puzzled by what they said, but puzzled by how I feel about what they said. This book came out, like I said, in 2000. That book came out in 2017. They were one of the first people to get it, and they still have not finished the book, right? Which it's poetry, so you know you don't have to read it like a novel or anything like that. But most people have told me that they, you know, got through it rather quickly, whatever. But she told me that she didn't get through it, and the reason she didn't get through it was because, and I'm paraphrasing now, but it triggered her, right? And I guess in a not so good way. And there's nothing in there about her, because that's a thing too. We'll get to that if we need to.
Yeah.
But there's nothing in there about her specifically, and she wouldn't tell me what the pieces were, what it was that triggered her. And part of me is like, well, damn, I like that sucks. The other part is like, then I guess I did my job as a writer because I evoked something. You know what I mean? Like, it's not necessarily my job to decide how you feel about something, but if you felt something, then I guess it was, you know, it was effective in doing that. So whether or not it was good or bad or whatever, it made you feel a particular way. So maybe
you did your job.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe that helped you process something or maybe confront something or whatever. But it, you know, because we're talking about feedback, and most of the time I'm able to process it and like, okay, cool, and I can take it or leave it. But that's one of the ones that has puzzled me even to this day. Like, damn, like I guess that's a good thing. But yeah, like feedback. Like you always want people to be honest with you. That's if you're giving feedback, be honest. If you're requesting feedback, then want honest feedback. Like I can't stress that enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna veer back on. I got 3 more questions.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this now. If anybody else has questions, comments, anything like that, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Go ahead and throw them in the chat here or throw them in the chat on Facebook, and we'll ask the questions and all that other good stuff. We'll do the Q&A on the back end after I ask these last 3, and I have you close out with something if you don't mind.
Cool. And look, don't be shy with your questions. I ain't scared. Don't mean I'm answering, but but ask whatever. Like I don't care. Don't coddle me.
Don't coddle.
Don't coddle me.
Nope. Don't do that. Bad audience. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Nikki was fresh. Nikki was quick with it too. When the portion comes up, Kaniki, we're not at that portion yet. Relax.
No, throw them in there. We got you. We're gonna throw them in there in a minute.
Damn.
So the last 3 are pretty easy. Since we're all kind of stuck in quarantine, what are you reading, or what is on your reading list or on your bookshelf right now?
Okay. It's funny you asked me this question because I have been slacking the past couple of weeks, to be honest with you. But what I started reading, and I've been doing well. I took the approach of reading for 15 minutes a day, just reading 15 minutes. And you know, I've been reading, but I would always say, all right, I'm going to read today. And sometimes I would read for an hour and I would get through. I would like move on and push through. But I said, no, 15 minutes a day. And I've been doing well at that. I've slacked off recently. However, the last book that I started reading was a book about Stax Records. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's a book about Stax Records. You know, the record label that had Otis Redding and Isaac Hayes and Staples Singers, a bunch of others. Like it was Motown and it was Stax. If you don't know, it's Motown and it was Stax. So that's the one that I've been reading, and unfortunately I can't remember the name of it, but that's the latest one.
Trust me, somebody will Google this in about 5 minutes. We'll have it sitting in there. And it's more important that I ask this question now because at some point I'm going to backtrack on all of my interviews and curate a reading list.
Yeah.
All of these interviews that we've been doing with, you know, on Let's Talk About the Book segment, because there have been some really dope titles in there. There it is. He said, Dreams to Remember, Otis Redding, Stax Records, and the Transformation of Southern Soul. Is that it?
Let me not lie. Give me 1 sec. It's literally right there. I'm gonna grab it real quick. Hold on. All right, so it's called Sweet Soul Music. So it's called Sweet Soul Music, Rhythm and Blues, and the Southern Dream of Freedom. So the portion I was reading last, it started off talking about Stax, but it's actually about soul music in general. But you can't talk about soul music without talking about Stax. And I watched the DVD recently with Stax. So that's probably why I got it mixed up a little bit. But this is it. Sweet Soul Music, Rhythm and Blues, and the Southern Dream of Freedom.
Okay, I am writing this down because, like I said, we are, there he is. He's put another one in there. He put another different, see, analysis is like our shadow male member who works at your local independent bookstore. and likes to drop all kinds of links whenever our artists throw some things in there. And I promise you, at some point, very soon, before we get to our 1 year anniversary, which is next month. We've been doing this almost a year. I can't believe it. I am going to curate a reading list based on, like I said, all the awesome books that people have brought up.
Hey, Analysis, holla at me. We're gonna start a show. We'll start a show.
Word. That could be real interesting.
Hey,
It could.
You know how to holler at me.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I just found the other. I think I found the one you were talking about. You said sweet soul music, rhythm and blues, and the Southern Dream of Freedom, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Right.
sir.
Peter Garalnik.
Yes, sir.
Dropping in.
All right, fantastic. Like I said, I'm gonna love having this curated list. We got a curated list of artists you should like. I'm gonna curate all kinds of lists. It's gonna be like books based on recommendations from our authors, like poets you should watch. Trust me, this segment in particular, like you get so much like just ridiculously awesome feedback. Speaking of which, bouncing off the previous question, I asked you what you were reading. Now I know you wrote this book last year.
Yes.
Are you in the process of working on another project while we have been quarantined?
I am always working on projects. So right now, what's in the forefront, two things actually. So primarily I'm working on this next record. I don't know if can I say record? That make me sound but no, with my band, Brothers Keeper, we are wrapping up our project. And like we're really close to just getting a couple more pieces to add to it. We get to the mixing and mastering process. To answer the question, I know it's going to come afterwards. We are not releasing the project in full right away. We're going to do singles first because that's just how it goes right now. So we'll do singles with visuals attached, but we're very close to wrapping that up. And at some point later in the year, those will start trickling down. In addition to that, I'm also taking a class. I'm taking a writing class. So that's another thing I'll say for creatives. Whatever you're doing, you're never finished learning. You're never finished learning. So always continue learning. So I'm taking a class now because primarily I've been a songwriter, an MC, poetry, but I don't do I don't do fiction writing, right? But I wanted to expand and be able to write in different genres and different platforms. So I took a class and there were 4 classes and then there's a capstone project at the end. So yep. I'm now on my capstone project. And let me tell you, that has been kicking my ass, not because it's difficult, but because of those things that you asked me earlier, procrastination and perfectionism and things like that. So, but I am working on that and I'm actually excited about it. The story that I decided to tell, if anybody's seen the movie Mo Better Blues is one of my favorites. And we don't know what happened afterwards. Like we know that him and if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, the movie came out in 90, so whatever, if I'm spoiling
Spoiler.
it. Right. Anyway, we know him and Indigo got together and they had a kid, but we don't know what happened after that. So one of the stories that I wrote in one of the previous parts of the one of the other classes was that story. And I started, it was a real short bit or whatever, but I decided for my capstone that I was going to continue that. And, it was daunting at first because 10 to 15 pages doesn't seem like a lot unless you've never done it.
That part.
You know what I'm saying? Unless you've never done it. So that's one of the things that I'm working on. And regardless of what happens with the capstone project, my goal for that is to just complete it for better or for worse. But after that, I'm going to
that's
flesh that
my
out.
story. That's my story. That is I actually, believe it or not, even though I said earlier that my first book was creative nonfiction, I was a fiction writer.
Yeah.
I just went into a technical writing track for reasons, because the difference is one class. Okay, cool, I can do that. My capstone was to take this creative nonfiction thing that I had been working on and they wanted the first 3 to 5 chapters. That was it.
Mhm.
So the first 3 to 5 chapters got done, and everybody kept saying, turn this into a book, turn this into a book, turn this into a book. And I sat on it after I was done. I sat on it for, I want to say at least a year or two.
Mhm.
Sat on it for about a year or two. And then I'd always had it. It required some research.
Yep.
It requires some, I was doing I did a whole creative non-fiction thing about baby names.
Mm-hmm.
About weird and like where people get like weird baby names from, and that sort of thing, and cultural norms and all this other stuff. But it's actually a pretty funny book about things not to do, and that's the book I got stuck with in the snowstorm. And I was like, I have this research, I'm sitting here, it's done, let's just write the book. And so like the back end of the book was 3 weeks in a snowstorm. The front end of it was a capstone project.
Mm-hmm.
So things that like I technically can say 3 weeks, but it wasn't 3 weeks. It was 3 weeks plus whatever I did before that.
Yeah, I actually started writing a book before I started the 28 mixtape, and the 28 mixtape ended up lapping that.
That happens all the time.
Which is fine, because that book is like that. What I like about this book, it's the first book that I've written that it ain't about me. It is not about me. It's about me in the context of, it's about us, right? But it's not my personal experiences like these other two. It's very interesting. And let me say this as well. Just because a writer writes something doesn't automatically mean it is about them. So don't go out here asking artists, oh man, who was that about? Or, oh man, like what was, because it ain't, it's not always autographical. It's not, even if they write it from that perspective, from a first person perspective, that doesn't mean it's necessarily about them. However, the 28 mixtape literally is like a step back view and celebrate, you know what I mean? So it has nothing to do with me, which is different from the other two.
There's a phenomenal writers workshop that who does it? Split This Rock does. And I will sometimes volunteer to teach a writing workshop, and Sherry's been with me before. And one of the first things they say is never assume that, like always assume that the author and the narrator are not the same person.
Right.
Just walk into it with the author and the actual author and the narrator are two different people.
Yep.
So I take that. You're absolutely right. I take that with me all the time. All right, here's the last one, and then I'll have you close out with something, and I'll go back to the questions, and I know a couple more that are coming. This is my favorite question in the entire interview. What is either or all of them, if you want to answer it?
Okay.
Book, author, or quote?
Book, author, or quote? I'll start with the quote. The quote is from Sonia Sanchez, and let me not mess it up. She said, "Anger can ignite, but it cannot sustain." Anger can ignite, but it cannot sustain. So that's one of my favorite quotes, like, ever. Books, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. That's one of those books where if I see it somewhere, I'll just buy a copy to give to somebody, because I feel like people need to always read that. And actually, probably in front of that, but that's a very close second. In front of that's probably The Alchemist. Like, I know it could be cliche to say, but that's a damn good book. Like I love The Alchemist.
It is. It absolutely is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
And author, I'll say two. I'll say Sonia Sanchez. Let's give her a quote. And the other one is Baldwin. Like, the way he writes, like, it's not flowery language, but it's so profound. It's like I often find myself like listening to him and reading him, like why do I like this? Like, why does this resonate so much? Because it's very fluid and conversational at times. Like, it's not pretentious. It's very, you know what I mean? Absolutely. But it connects. It hits. It connects. And somehow, with all that being said, it's still beautiful the way he, you know what I mean? Like how do you do that? So yeah, Baldwin is definitely up there. I mentioned Paulo already, Paulo Coelho. He writes beautifully. There's another one. I think it's called the Pilgrimage. So I think it's a Pilgrimage, but that one is very similar to The Alchemist. But if you want to like not have the love story, then
Yeah.
then read that one. So yeah, I'll go with those.
I'm here for it all. Like I said, we'll listen. I got the links, the list. We'll curate the whole.
I'm sorry, I gotta do one more. Pablo Neruda.
Oh yeah. I have a copy of, I want to say, Love Poems.
Yeah.
See, nobody can see my shelf, and nobody can see my whole shelf unless I turn this. But I have almost everybody that I've had on this show, and that means I have to add yours now too. I have a copy of their book. So there's a copy somewhere up here, and yours, as we just discussed, your book is coming to live over here.
All right.
Right, your book is coming to live on the shelf. I have random toys, and when I say random toys, I mean like I have a Rubik's Cube, and then I have a Yoshi that works, like random stuff.
Okay.
You know.
You got any Ninja Turtles on there?
No Ninja Turtles, but I have a working Mystery Machine.
Work? Oh, for real? A work? What do you mean working?
I mean,
like, does it transport you? Does it transport you?
I mean, if you pull it back, it runs across my desk.
Wow. Random indeed.
Working Mystery Machine. But I also have I have blank books. I have, the things that I read. And then, I've got some comic books and things. But I try to, again, like some of the things, I know somewhere over here, there's a poetry section. This book's big. There's a poetry section, though. And it's indie artists and, of course, the wonderful ones, the greats, the here's what we base our stuff on. And somewhere in there is Neruda.
Yeah. I printed out one of
Sanchez. Somewhere near Sanchez.
I was at work and I literally printed out like an entire book of Neruda because I was like, whatever. It was already in PDF form. I was at work. I was like, it's free. Cool. And I printed out the whole, and it was like the best of. So it was like a thick joint. It wasn't like Love Poems, a little thing. Now it was like it's in like a 3-ring binder, the 3-inch joint, right? Like
full of Neruda. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, and scene.
Yep.
And scene. I am going to let's see what I can do here. I'm going. Me and Vader. We'll get my little Vader. Here, where's Vader? Me and Vader will sit over here, and watch you do your last piece, and then we will go ahead and take some questions from the audience. I never bring out the stuff and the things, and this feels like the appropriate moment to do so. But I'm gonna let you close out with your last piece, and questions, comments, throw them in the chat. I'm gonna turn it over to you. There's Vader.
You know what? Nah, I'll do it from. I was debating on whether or not I wanted to do it from this one or if I wanted to read something from one of the other books.
Your pick. Totally your pick.
Give me a second here. I didn't prepare. Nah, I'll do it from this one. Cool. Yeah, I'll do this one. Party. I want to party again. Got me a black leather jacket and a real cool brim. Into fedoras instead of berets. But I'm into justice either way. Yesterday, today, tomorrow. I want to party. Like 1966, forget 99. Brothers still dying instead of being served or protected. Babies still need breakfast. Civility is restless. I want to party like shotguns in homes, policing our own communities, power fists, afros, black beauty and unity. I want to party like 10 points, like freedom, employment, healthcare, education, food, and decent housing. Release of those unfairly tried, locked in federal, state, and county. I want to party like a for real party, like they used to back in the day. Popping, locking, breaking, shaking, movements. Yeah.
Yo, that's okay. Everybody can unmute yourself. First of all, to give word a round of applause. You can do that.
Yeah.
Silent ones, you can unmute yourself.
Word.
Mercy buckets. That's French.
Mercy bucket. Yep.
So here is the question that Danielle has been waiting for you to answer since 7:10.
7:10. Okay.
Yeah, I said it.
Timestamp 7:10.
All right.
You have chosen to use a stage name, Wordslave.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that name come from?
When I was deciding on whether or not I wanted to use a stage name, first and foremost, I decided because people think that because they see you on stage that they know you. And while we do present ourselves on stage, that is a persona. And I wanted to create that separation. So that's why I created the stage name, first and foremost. How I came to Wordslave was I knew I wanted something to be something about lyrics, something about words. For me, even though most people know me or most people choose to connect me to singing, right? And that's fine. But for me, it's always been about, okay, what are you saying? So regardless of rhyme or you singing, like, what is the content about? So I knew I wanted it to be something about the words, the lyrics, something to that effect. So I'm literally just driving around and I'm just throwing stuff at the wall. And somehow I got the word. I came up with a couple other things that sounded dumb. And I was like, Wordslave. And I was like, I know that'll be, I liked it. Like it just hit me in a way. I was like, I know that's going to be a little controversial, but like, why would you choose a name with the name slave in it? And here's why. So I work for the words to work. So if I'm a slave, not in that content, not in that negative context, but I'm working so that the words make sense, so that the words are coming across. So that's the ultimate goal for me. So whatever it takes to make that connection through the words that I'm saying and the words that I'm delivering, that's what I'm trying to get done. So that's why I'm a slave to words. That's why I'm a slave to, writing, whatever. So that's how I came about that.
Okay. The other question, which is very important because you are a musician.
I am a musician.
These are, wait a minute. And wait a minute, we didn't get him to sing tonight, but it's okay. I'll be listening to my stuff later in the night.
If we have time, I'll do it if you would like, but go ahead.
If you could have your perfect concert, Pier 6 is set up for you, 3 acts, living or dead. Who's going to be on the show?
3 acts, living or dead. Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye.
Time we've heard Marvin Gaye, I think.
Even though I've seen her several times on stage, I can't get enough of Jill Scott. Sidebar. Jill Scott. So that song Lazelle in E flat. So he loves me. That joint, everybody don't know about it by its name, right? But he loves me, right? When I tell you, when I hear her sing that song, and I don't mean on a recording, but I mean like live, when I've seen her across it, I'm literally sitting there. Like when I tell you she brings all the bitch out of me, I'm sitting there like, don't you cry. Don't you cry. Don't you like every I'm just mush. Like her and Layla Hathaway do that to me. But so I got Marvin, I got Jill. You know what? This would be a wild ass bill, but Biggie, man.
That would be a wild bill.
That'd be a wild. I ain't say it made sense, but like these artists, like,
don't have to.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to. We are learning about you through the music. That's the point of the question. There's always the point of the question. And I have a new one. out, I was watching a music documentary about the Bee Gees. Plug. It is on HBO Max. How Do You Mend a Broken Heart? If you haven't seen it, you must see it. It is an amazing documentary.
Okay.
You will find out stuff that the Bee Gees wrote that you'll have you sitting there going, what? They wrote that? So yeah, it's an amazing documentary, amazing 2 hours. Who would you like to write for? Like if someone like they said, hey, we need a song, and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to do that.
That is a new question.
Yeah, but trust me, if you watch this, you're gonna hear some songs. It's gonna be like, they wrote that.
First of all of these questions, if you ask me tomorrow, I probably have different answers. But
that's fine.
Honestly, Anthony Hamilton.
I can see that.
I can see that.
Here's the thing. We've gotten to this point where, first of all, I don't know what R&B is like technically. And like, again, I don't do genres. I don't care. But that real soul singer, you got to really seek it out. You got to, so in terms of like who's, I won't say popular, who's more accessible to the masses, Anthony's one of the last ones that you get like grown man singing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I've always appreciated singers that got a little gruff, little thing to their voice. He can give you the falsetto if he wants to, but it ain't that whiny shit where it's just kind of, you know what I'm saying? But it's grown soul music. And I appreciate that. So I would love to get a song off on him.
He's not 1987 Keith Sweat. Got you.
Hey man, Keith had hits. You know you was rocking the Keith. Keith had hits. Nobody.
No. I've never ever liked Keith Sweat.
You ain't never rocked to a Keith. Nobody's accusing him of being a good singer. Let's get that out of the way. We're not saying that. But you ain't never partied to a Keith Sweat song. Come on, man.
I'm sure I have at some point.
Of course you have.
Reluctantly.
If I Want Her come on right now, you're gonna be in your chair. I want her. You're gonna be rocking in your chair right now. If I Want Her.
Oh yeah. Throw a little throwback. Ain't never heard nobody.
Don't lie. You like Twisted.
Listen. No.
No, you gotta sing it like that. No, I want it. It sounds like a gnat flew in his nose, and you try to sing.
Yeah. Listen. Also, unpopular opinion. I can sing total doing that, and I can't sing. Hold one side, sing Kissing You. It's game on.
Listen, let's not get on bad boy artists, because we can go down the line and let's just give Puffy credit, because after what? 90, I say 99. Like, who you really counting on from Bad Boy at that point? You know what I'm saying? Like early on, he had the roster, he had everybody on him, but after that, who you really counting on from Bad Boy? You know what I mean? But that was Diddy, because he gonna put you together. He gonna package you. He gonna get it across. We was rocking the total. You know what I'm saying? Nobody likes that song. Can't You See? Nobody likes Can't You See? But he put Biggie on off top, and then made you rock to. You're like, the song on. I'm out to rock with it.
I kind of liked it after I heard it. Like, it became an earworm after hearing it 27,000 times.
But if Big wasn't on that first verse, you would not listen to that song. You just let it ride after that. But if it didn't have Big on, it was just them singing. Come on.
It was also on one of the most god-awful soundtracks ever in the history of life. But that's again a whole nother story.
What was that?
What was it? Wasn't that on a soundtrack to
was that on New Jersey Drive?
Yes, it was. And that movie was awful.
But you said the soundtrack was, but you talking about the movie or talking about the soundtrack? Because I remember the soundtrack being all right.
The soundtrack was good, the movie was awful.
Oh yeah, I never watched the movie, but I had
the soundtrack had a couple of things I liked, but the movie was awful.
Yeah. All right. We got
all right.
I'm about to say, don't get me started. Yeah, we'll go.
No, that's fine. We had that part of the conversation.
Just questions. It's Kaniki's turn now.
Yeah, Kaniki, you want to ask it or you want me to do it? I think she's still on mute. She came back and asked. Oh,
here she comes.
I was trying to unmute. Yeah, I don't know why my camera's not on. Hold on, let's see. Hey, okay.
You got to face me if you want to ask this question. You got to face me.
You know, it's not for me. The folks want to know. People want to know anonymously. They want to know: are you married? If you're not, if you attached, if you're
Well,
not,
anonymously, I would say, always shoot your shot. Always shoot your shot. The DMs are there for a reason, so one should never be afraid to shoot her shot.
I have to say, in the history of Keep the Mic On, I don't think that question has ever been asked.
Never.
Never. That nobody has ever said, "Are you with somebody?"
I'm a first.
You
True story. I don't think that has ever been asked.
Oh man.
But it's all right. It's okay. We'll ask anything.
Shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot. The
Shoot your shot.
DMs is open for a reason.
Yes.
Was that diplomatic enough?
Yeah. I think that was a great answer. That was great. What was I gonna say? We already asked you that question. Sherry stole my question. Let me share.
The last question is always the last question. Has not been asked yet.
I know. I want to ask that, but I also want to ask, do you think that as an artist, it is your responsibility to write what is happening in the time?
It's a personal choice, I believe. So I don't understand how you don't do that. But what I will say is, so like in Kelly Girl Band, one of the things that Kelly always tells me when we're writing, and I'll write something and it will time stamp something, he'll remind me that we want to write stuff that is classic. Like you want to write stuff that is going to last. So if it's 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, can you read it and it still be relevant? Not because we haven't progressed, that's a whole other conversation, but does it still hold up over time, or does it feel dated because whatever? But I feel like personally, yes, I want to document the times, but I also want to be versatile enough to be able to document the times and also have material that is going to be classic or, you know, be relevant down the line as well. So maybe you should be versatile enough to do both. But I feel like a lot of times we give people too much of a hard time for, you should be doing this, or you have a platform, so you should do this and blah, blah, blah. Like, now if they don't want to, like, if you feel that strongly about it, then hey, get your pen out. You do it. You know what I'm saying? You hop on stage or you do whatever. But everybody don't want to be a role model. Everybody don't want to be a political figure. You know, when we get on people for content, a lot of times my question is, well, you know, where the parents at? Or where's the other representation? If everything is about balance, then you got, you know, to keep it real basic, you got negative and positive. So if there's too much negativity, then okay, then you be that source of positivity to balance that. So you got a responsibility to be the best artist that you can be. Right. You know what I mean?
Ashe. I love that. Okay. Now I'm going to ask our favorites, unless anybody got something else they want to ask Danielle.
I think that's it.
Okay. I'm going to ask you, now that you have been on this platform and you know about all the weeks and platforms, let me remind you, I host Poets and Platforms. Right now you're on Let's Talk About the Book. And we talk about everything else too. Let's talk about the book, etc.
Right.
Sherry does From Behind the Microphone, and Charity does Art Plus Therapy. So now that you know all the platforms, who should we bring on as our next special guest?
Oh, that's pressure. Well, see, I don't know. Everybody has been on here, and I definitely look, but it's been going on for so long. Like I'm bound to say somebody that's already been on.
It's fine.
It's two things. One, we have a list. Two, if you repeat somebody, that's fine. And three, we have a list and we have a fight list. The
fight list. What's the fight list?
The fight list is all four of us want the same person. So we either have to fight it out or we have to wait for a 5th week, one or the other.
Ah, got you.
Cage match. It's gonna happen. No, I'm kidding. But
I got one. If you good luck finding him if you haven't done him already. Brooks Long.
Ooh.
and no, we have not.
Brooks Long. That brother is a wealth of musical knowledge. He's a wealth of musical knowledge, and I won't tell all his business, but what he's working on right now, he's gaining so much more. He's going to have so much to contribute to a conversation like this. So I would love to tune into something like that. So yeah, I mean, I could name plenty, but yeah, Brooks Long.
Got it. Writing that one down.
Yeah.
Okay, Analysis has something he wants to say, so he will come on because we've learned as our secret mail member, we don't speak for him. We just let him tell his own stuff.
Pretty much.
I like that was pretty good, Simple Share. I ought to write that down. Bookmark that. Just post it anytime I come on somewhere. I like that. But anyway, no, a quick shout out as we've been hearing about and discussing Rasan's singing abilities as well as writing abilities. You will get to hear more of this brother sing on my soon to be released album because he blessed me with some vocals.
Yes.
And so he will be on Analysis's upcoming album a couple thousand years later. So
I still think that's the best title ever. I really do.
We don't have time for it, but very briefly, Girl Genius, I took a whole lot of straw poll. You know, there are other people in this very Zoom who had ideas, and everybody had ideas, but I'm feeling that one. You and Kenneth Something were my two backups on that one. And all the ideas that I had were good, and I appreciate everybody chiming in on what they thought was the best. I settled on that one. And Wordslave did me the blessing, hooked up through Maurice Carroll, our brother Maurice, to put a bit of brief vocals on my piece Better Friday that many of you are familiar with. And so I'm looking forward to everybody being able to hear it, and that'll be out very soon.
Nice. Thank you, brother.
I was about to say, anything else? More questions? And I want to say, this is a rare opportunity for me. This is great because I don't think that up until today that I've had a musician in my segment.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why this conversation veers. A, because it's you, and B, because I don't think I've had a musician in my segment up until today.
Okay, Lady Trey. Hey, Lady Trey.
Hey, Trey. Hey.
Rasan, what did you learn about yourself upon completion of Whiskeys and Blues in comparison to the 28 mixtapes?
What did I learn about myself? I don't know if it was necessarily, I don't know if it was directly correlated to the completion of it and in comparison, but I'll tell you something that I've learned just as somebody who was putting something out, a creative thing out into the universe. I'm writing whatever. Like if it comes to me, if I need to get it down, I need to get it out, and I'm going to be as honest as possible. And if you are involved in my life in any way, shape, or form, you're probably going to turn up, right? And I've never made any, like I don't apologize for that, and not just in the dating context, but that too. No, if you date an artist, you're gonna come up somewhere along the line, right? It's gonna happen. Like it is what it is. But I don't use names, but I try to be as honest as possible without denigrating somebody or making them feel bad, putting their business out there, but also telling, and I hate saying this, but telling my truth, right? But what I have learned, and I'm probably doing a little bit differently now, is to have a little more consideration, at least with letting them know, like, hey, listen, I got this thing that I'm doing, and I want you to take a listen to it, or I want you to see it, or whatever, because even though it's not intentional, sometimes there are casualties, and you don't, at least I don't mean to do that intentionally. That's not the intention, but you know, if it's about you, you know what you did, like, or, you know what I'm saying, you know, or you know what happened, and it is what it is. But there are certain things that are coming up now, and as I'm getting older, and as you know, people around me are getting older, like family members and things like that, I would want to give them the opportunity to at least know that it's coming, or at least know before they hear about it, because there have been situations where they'll read it and they'll be like, "Holy shit," or they'll hear it and they'll be like, "Whoa!" Like, and I've gotten some feedback for it, and I stand behind it, but I'm taking a little bit of a different approach about that if I know that it could impact them in a certain way. So I don't know if that answers the question or not, but I think so. Just my approach to releasing the material when it relates to somebody else and knowing that it might affect them in a particular way.
No, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah. That don't mean it ain't gonna come out. That don't mean I won't do it, but hey.
It's there.
So we were promised, you know, just a little bit.
We were promised.
She said we were promised.
We were promised a little song.
I'm trying to figure if I want to do. Yeah, I guess I should do an original, huh?
And for those that have not heard Wordslave before, you definitely have to hear him live. He has one of the most powerful voices. And what I mean by that is his off mic, his voice can fill a very large room, and it is amazing. So I also put that out loud.
Cosign.
What'd you say? Oh, you said cosign?
Cosign.
I'm here. Yeah. I was same thing.
I'm going to preface this song. And the reason I'm going to preface it is because I don't want it to be misunderstood. I had the pleasure, let me rephrase. I had the honor of singing at a funeral recently. And that may sound crazy. However, whenever I'm asked that, I usually lead with, there's a particular song that I like to do, and it's an original piece, because I don't feel like that should be a sad situation. I prefer to celebrate life, the life that person lived. And I'm honored to be able to have something that I've written that makes sense in that context, and to be able to still bring joy to people through what it is that I do, even in what is usually a sad situation. And it's the most recent thing. So that's why I want to do this particular song, but I wanted to lead with that. So like, why you sing that song? But I'm going to do it. It's called Won't Be Long. This old world wasn't meant for me, and everything within it is temporary. Bright and early one Sunday morning, I'ma be on my way on a peaceful journey, and it won't be long. It won't be long till I cross on over. It won't be long. It won't be long. It won't be long till I cross on over. Time again, I done fought these battles, but my soul is tired. And I'm looking to find some peace. So when I lay me down, sometimes I wonder what lies ahead. But there's no need to worry. Just look for me when you get there. It won't be long. It won't be long till I cross on over. It won't be long. It won't be long. It won't be long till I cross on over. Won't be long till I find my glory. Won't be long till I spread my wings. Won't be long for they tell my story. Won't be long till I find my peace. Won't be long till I find my glory. Won't be long till I spread my wings. Won't be long for they tell my story. Won't be long till I find my peace. Won't be long. It won't be long. It won't be long till I cross on over. It won't be long. It won't be long. It won't be long till I cross on over.
Oh my God.
This is one of those moments when you no. This is one of those moments when I flip my view, my camera view to like everybody, so I can like periodically just watch the reactions go across the screen. Oh my God.
Oh,
Amen.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Oh no, I didn't mean that.
no, it's okay. So as we all know, we have not been able to do a show live in a year, like literally almost a year. Almost a year. And there are times where I'm like, yeah, I kind of, I miss it, especially like if I go into Busboys where I work mostly now. But like since I've been in hosting online, I'm like, that hasn't made me miss it yet. It hasn't made me miss it yet. This is the first time that I was really like, oh my God, I love hearing him sing this live, and I miss hearing you sing live.
Well, thank you.
Oh God. So everyone, Wordslave, please tell everyone the name of the book, where to follow you, where to get a copy, and give us all that information for the people, so we hear you say it and discuss it.
The name of the
I'm
book.
gonna repost. I'm gonna repost it too, by the way.
Okay. The name of the book is The 28 Mixtape. The 28 Mixtape. You can find it on Amazon along with my other book, The World According to the Son of Annette and Ron, Whiskey and Blues. I got you. But this is the 28 Mixtape, the most recent one. You can find me Facebook, Rasan.Eldridge. You can find me on Instagram. Well, you can find my page on Instagram. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I ain't on Instagram like that. I'm on there, but I ain't on there. But Wordslave, the artist, encouraged me to be on there more. Listen, I got a love-hate relationship with social media. But anyway, Wordslave, the artist on Instagram. My band is called Brothers Keeper. So at Brothers Keeper Music on Instagram and at Brothers Keeper Music on Facebook. Yes, that's how you can find me. Did I cover it? Did I miss anything?
Analysis says you can get the other two books, his previous two books, from also Red Emma's if you are in the United States. So please support your local independent bookseller restaurant, especially since they've had to close, had to keep very irregular hours during the quarantine.
That's what I was about to ask. Analysis, are y'all open at all? And like, could I drop in and grab a meal or a cup of coffee or something? Like, what's the word with
Indoor traffic. You can come down for carry out, for pickup.
Okay.
Thursday through Saturday, 9 to 9, Sunday, 10 to 12. If it's nice weather, we might have the outdoor couple patio chairs set up.
Okay.
If it's too cold or too wet, then that won't even be the case.
True.
But you can come down for carry out orders and same day book pickup if you want to buy a book online and come down and pick it up same day. But that's about it right now.
Got you.
Eventually, hopefully we get, out as far as our buying of indie books is concerned, we're a little frozen on that right now. So I would advise everybody to contact Rasan directly for 28 Mixtape. But in terms of Whiskey Blues and World According, we do have copies left in the store of that. So I've posted the links a couple times in the chat. So go on and get it there before you give Jeff Bezos any money. And after that, get it directly.
Exactly.
And listen, no, straight up. So I did pre-orders for the book. So here's the difference. whenever you can purchase directly from an artist, know that it's always going to be more beneficial for them because Amazon is a company and Amazon is going to get their cut because that's how they make money. So if you want to optimize that for the artist, you can always hit them up directly. So if you want me, and that way I can sign it for you. So if it comes from Amazon, it's going to come straight.
That part.
Yeah, it's going to come straight to you. But if you want me to sign it for you or something like that, or whatever, if you want to, give me a little extra money in my pocket, which is fine, or if you don't, whatever. But you can hit me up directly, and I can get those copies out to you as well. So, yeah.
Okay, everyone. Again, Rasan, thank you.
Thank
We will
y'all.
be back again next Sunday with Charity Blackwell hosting. Therapy. Charity is not here. That is actually a figment of your imagination, her avatar here. But we will be back next week. So please watch us. You can follow us on all social media at Keep the Mic On. Across all social medias where you'll find us at that address. Everyone, please have a safe week. Wash your hands, stay safe, wear a mask.
Wash your damn hands.
Wash your hands, stay safe.
That's the stupidest part of this pandemic. That's all I gotta say. All right, but everyone, we will see y'all all next week.
Buy stock in Jergens. Listen, buy stock in Jergens. Man,
Right?
Nah, get your shea butter, black folk. Get your shea butter.
That too. Yes.
That too.
Buy you
Shea
some
butter.
shea butter, but buy you some stock in Jergens.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you for
Oh
coming.
no, thank you for
Peace
being
out.
here.
All right,
We will
y'all.
see you. Okay. Bye, everybody.